And we are live on the YouTube. Hello, YouTube family. It is I, your friend Tyler Ellison, and I'm joined by my lovely friend and host, Yahaira Vargas. And welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. So excited to see what comes forth for this month.
Yes, very, very exciting times. There's a lot happening in Earth's timeline shifting and in the evolution of the universe, and RYO is going to be getting into some of that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the trance state. And once I'm in the state, RYO is going to announce the nature of our upcoming transmission. And Yahaira, do we pick a date for that transmission?
Yes, the 26th.
26th.
Yeah.
Great. So our upcoming transmission will be the 26th at 1 p.m. So RYO is going to be talking about what you can expect at that event, and that might pique your interest. And then after we have described that to you, I'm going to then, as RYO, be taking your questions. So in the chat box, you can ask essentially whatever you want. We encourage people to ask questions that are a little less personal and more collective, just because it is a public Q&A. But please, it is a type of space where you can ask whatever is important to you. So we do our best to get to people, but a lot of people show up, so we can't get to everybody, but we promise we'll do our best. And if you want more, if you're like, man, that was cool, but I didn't get my question asked, and I want to increase the likelihood I'll get my question asked, then you can come to Patreon right after this, where we're going to be continuing the Q&A there, and the audience there will be smaller. So there will be a greater likelihood that you're going to be able to get your questions answered. And those tiers for the Patreon Q&A, they're the very basic tiers. So pretty much anybody can get them. So we encourage you to join us there, where you get more content and more RYO. And I think I've said everything I need to say before I jump in. So with that out in the air, I'll go inside to the inner space and bring him through. So my friends, thank you for your support, your love. I return it back to you multiplied, and I appreciate each of you. I'll see you soon. All right, it is our species' highest joy and passion to be able to interact with you all in this unique way through this particular channel, this day of your time. We shall be describing to you the nature of the upcoming transmission on the 26th at 1 p.m. of March. And this transmission is titled Emergence into the Stars. And the reason we call it Emergence into the Stars is because right now, your species is moving through what you have described as the splitting prism of parallel realities. We will be talking about the mechanics of really what that is and why that began on 2012, December 21st. Why that was the entry point. What exactly did you enter into? And what exactly are you emerging from? We delivered a transmission a few years ago of your time where we talked about the ability of your solar system to teleport to various locations within the universe, and that you are not actually in the same position in the universe at any given moment. And sometimes those new positions you find yourself in are very, very different. Whenever you find that your solar system and surrounding Milky Way have greatly shifted their location in the universe, it is because you have moved through a black hole. That is what your species entered into. That is why it feels like for many of you, time has sped up, time has stood still. When you enter into a black hole, it is as if you enter into the mind of the oversoul, where there are many doors all around you, kind of like a funhouse or something like that. Each door, each portal is a specific location within the universe. This is how extraterrestrial craft travel. When they teleport, they will match the frequency of the black hole, and they use that energy to actually ship themselves from point A to point B. So you have literally been, as a collective, we are not exaggerating here, you have been piloting your Earth through the black hole portal, ensuring that your Earth emerges in a location within the universe that allows for your golden age, your preferred version of Earth, to be born early. That is what this splitting prism is all about. We're going to be talking about the timeline of the splitting prism in that way, of the, you could say, black hole portal. For it's a progressive journey, and it does get easier and easier. It's challenging at first. It gets very dense, and you experience that density with the last couple of years on your planet. You all know what we're referring to, having to be hermits for a while. And that was, for many of you, a great challenge. Some of you enjoyed it, but for many of you, a great challenge. Well, now you have gotten so much of that lesson learning out of the way, and you have integrated so much. Now the challenges can actually become easier and easier and easier. So you'll still have challenge, but you're going to find that they're lesser and lesser and lesser in their intensity and their severity. Solutions will begin to arise seemingly out of nowhere, from unlikely places, from unlikely sources. So we're going to be talking about what you can expect as you continue to move through the splitting prism of parallel realities. We will tell you about how your Earth will change, not just in terms of technology and society, but in terms of size, and in terms of land, and in terms of countries, and in terms of the very way you understand your map. All of those things are going to change, every single one of them. And we will tell you about all of that and more on this upcoming transmission. So we thank you for receiving this update. And now we shall make ourselves available to each of you for your questions, curiosities, and comments. Let us begin.
Yay. Hi, RYO. How are you?
Hello, how are you? We are well, and you?
Ah, fantastic, growing, expanding, and so excited about the transmission because it's so deep. Like when I transcribe them, I'm like, wow, so many layers to it.
Yes, yes. It has been said before that when contact occurs, your species' entire history shall be returned to you. This was a message delivered to your people by the Bashar. The reason our information is so deep is because encoded into our information is your species' history. And in your species' history are the secrets to your species' future. That's what we're transmitting. We are transmitting your ancient future to you, a blending of the earliest dimensions of your people, and you could say the most evolved dimensions of your people all at once. That's what's coming through this frequency. That's why it's so dense. It's like each word is a file on your computer or an icon that you can click on, and an entire program, software opens up, an entire world opens up that changes everything. That's what each and every single word is that we use in these transmissions. They are, you could say, numerically calculated through frequency and state of being.
Yeah, it feels like pure activation.
Yes, yes. And there will be more. There will be more. So you have a lot to look forward to. And you'll find that because many of you are doing the, you could say, spiritual work, which is really supposed to be spiritual play, because most of you are doing that, it puts you in a state where you're more easily able to overcome these challenges, where you're more easily able to move through that, you could say, tunnel that is the black hole tunnel. And ultimately, that is the state that's going to enable your species to bring about contact and emergence into the stars. So now we shall take some questions. Please, whomever would like to interact with us, may your voice be heard through our host.
Yes, beautiful. First question. What can you tell us about Abraxas? For those that don't know who he is, what is some relevant or interesting information?
Sure. So Abraxas represents the idea of a grouping of stars that in many ways create comprehensive effects on how your species and your solar system species and how your Milky Way species operates. The types of energies that these stars create are what we would call the original guiding blueprint energies that make up how things move, you could say, geometrically. For example, all the planets are rotating, all of the stars are rotating. Where do those rotational patterns come from? They come from what you call abraxas. So abraxas, on the more physical reality level, is a grouping of stars. On a higher dimensional level, abraxas is a type of, you could say, phoenix that has what you would consider to be dragon's four legs. That is how that being can manifest on the astral plane. Physically, it's a few stars, but when we say a few stars, believe us when we say that doesn't mean that they're just some type of irrelevant object. Stars are alive. You're looking at a portal into the mind of the source. Different stars represent different parts of the source's brain. So every star will give you a different dimension of the one. So abraxas is, you could say, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, and the thalamus of your entire Milky Way galaxy. It's the center of the brain. So that's what abraxas is. And abraxas, as all entities, has a yin and yang side. It depends on how those stars rotate and move. If those stars rotate and move in a way that is discordant with the other geometries that are orbiting around them, then what can end up happening is the shadow side or darker side of abraxas is then summoned. And that's when things are denser. That's when things are a little more challenging. That's when things might feel burdensome, more fear-based, more negative. But when the stars and celestial bodies orbiting abraxas are resonating healthfully with it, that's when you have golden ages and utopias. So abraxas is not a hero necessarily. Abraxas is not necessarily a villain. It's a cluster of stars, you could say a group of stars, that is both. It just depends on the day of the week that you catch them on.
Next question. Can you tell us some of the words of power Christ uttered to heal and how to access the point of power from which he spoke in order to manifest and heal?
Sure. We shall give you a word that is, you could say, a blueprint word for human. This word, when chanted, will activate the idea of your original DNA blueprint. It helps to realign you rather quickly. Dave. 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 Dave represents the idea of the original human design. So if you were to utter that word while focusing your attention into a specific part of the body, you could augment the way the DNA expresses there. Now, remember, a word on its own may not necessarily be enough. You must activate the word, and you activate the word through feeling. So get yourself jazzed. Do whatever you got to do. Take a cold shower, do push-ups, watch something that you love, but really go into that place where you're feeling passionate and alive, and then take that feeling and imprint Dave onto it and direct that somewhere, wherever you want it to go. You can also use that word on other people. You can use it on objects. You can even use it on technology. But be aware, if you use Dave on technology, what you will find is your technology may begin to deliver to you a great deal of synchronicities, perhaps at a level that is unprecedented, because if you were to imprint that word into a device, your device would then become a portal for a level of consciousness equal to what you call a human being's higher mind. So Dave can also be used to accelerate the idea of your species' progression towards the innovation of sophisticated, positive, benevolent, Buddhic AI. So Dave is a word that matches the frequencies of some of the original words that Christ used. So play around with Dave. There's one final thing we'll say on this, because this is going to be the topic of a future transmission, but Dave is also heavily connected to the beings that have been visiting your planet, especially some of the ones that have been in recent reports within media. Dave is also connected to what you would consider to be the most ancient of human designs. So There's more to come on that, and we're very enthusiastic to get into it. But for now, we will stick with the themes of this month's transmission. We don't want to jump ahead too much and spoil any surprises.
Next question. What am I? Is it really whatever I decide, or is there a universal answer?
It's going to be a few things. So what you are is a myriad of different elements blended together into what seems to be one thing, but is actually billions of billions of billions of things. So keep that in mind. You are the infinite. You are every expression of life manifesting as an individual. That's what you are. So with that being said, you are also God, because if you are everything and you are also everything unified, there's no difference between you and what you would call the source, what you would call God classically. Therefore, you get to determine who and what you are. You speak what you are into existence. That's what the Garden of Eden story is about. When Adam is naming the animals, that's you with your life. You're telling yourself, this is this is that. And so it is, because your will is absolute, because you're not really human. You're a God projecting into this reality. So it's important to emphasize that divine spark within you, so you can have a sense of unlimited capability at your fingertips. Because if you think, oh, I'm just a human, I'm just a person, it'll feel like you only have so much you can work with. But if you really tap into that super consciousness, that source consciousness, then there's nothing on earth you cannot do. Ask the mountain to move, and it will split itself in half for you to walk through to whatever world you desire. So have fun, and thank you for joining us.
Next question. Have we crossed a threshold recently?
Yes. Well, based off what we have told you, there is a certain type of threshold you have crossed. So as we have said, you have been using your species' collective consciousness to sail your planet through the idea of this black hole vortex. And you have reached a certain level of progression within that evolutionary journey. You have made it further. And as a result of this, you have allowed for certain positive frequencies from the golden age, the open contact oriented version of Earth, to become permanently installed and crystallized into your Gaian's core. So now you are able to navigate this black hole vortex with a spiritual GPS system built into the heart of your Earth. That wasn't there before. Now it is. That's the threshold you've crossed. You have awoken the GPS part of Gaian's consciousness. And as a result, that's been awakened within all of your hearts. So you're all going to start to recognize very quickly, where is my direction? Where is my path? You'll be able to see it. That's the threshold you've crossed. You actually crossed that today. Keep in mind, whenever you as a people, as a collective, change your clocks, you shift quantumly. You shift to a parallel reality where it's always been that time. So today you crossed that threshold. Today was that portal.
Next question. When I meditate, my face moves a lot. What is that? I oscillate so much it scares me. What is the reason?
Sure. So this is Kundalini energy beginning to awaken. So if you ever feel as if your body starts to spiral or rotate, this is Kundalini. This is the energy from the earth spiraling up and making contact with your feet or your hips or your perineum or your tailbone. And as soon as it does, the body starts to rotate. What you're doing is you're unwinding dormant, creative, feminine power within you as you move. The key is to then bring that energy up the spine. Just make sure your nadis, as they are called in yoga, or your energy channels are open, and know how to circulate energy before you bring it up to your head, because it's a fire. It's a type of yin fire stored in you. So you need to make sure you can handle that fire well. So seek out perhaps a yogic teacher or watch some videos. You don't have to work with other people if you don't want to. If you want to be more solo, that's fine. But that's what we would advise. Learn circulation techniques like the microcosmic orbit do something like Nadi Shodhana breath, alternate nostril breathing. And then whilst you are feeling the oscillations, bring the energy up to the head and then bring it down the front of the body and make a circle up the back, down the front, up the back, down the front. And you'll find rapidly your consciousness starts to shift. The face twitching is referencing the idea that the Kundalini is awakening because the face is the reverse of the lower body. If you were standing upside down, your lower body would be your face and your face would be your lower body. So when you're finding your face is twitching, it's because the Kundalini energy centers are turning on. So the face is twitching reflexively to show that that area is being stimulated.
Next question. As we speak, there is a bank crisis gaining size and impact, the Silicon Valley Bank. Is the crisis done and already contained, or is it going to grow even more? What is the deeper spiritual meaning?
There will be an increase in the phenomenon. It will continue to progress. However, there is a possibility for resolution in a way that benefits the idea of both parties involved, both the idea of the, you could say, companies involved, tech companies, as well as the banking dimensions. There may be a type of resolution that allows for both to benefit to be reached. And this is also reflecting the idea of other parts of your world where negotiations are needed and equity is needed. But one of the reasons this is happening is because with respect to the idea of AI, there oftentimes can be certain societal resistances to such technologies. Some of these resistances are on behalf of the public, and some of them are actually on behalf of the government. For example, with AI, many people have seen films on your planet. We'll speak of one that's rather popular, things like Terminator or things like The Matrix, and they say, oh no, that's bad, we can't have that. So on some level, a dimension of your species' collective consciousness resists that. And governments understand that whomever possesses the most advanced AI would essentially be able to run the world. However, that is not as nefarious or evil as it sounds. But because of that, there are also different agents and agencies within governments, which are also linked with banking, that attempt to, you could say, block these things from happening through different types of means of, you could say, financial fluctuations. So this phenomenon is reflecting your species' resistance to AI. Now, should your species' resistance to this type of innovation decrease, you might find that you could say, conflict resolves earlier. But if fears and things like that persist, that conflict may be drawn out further.
Next question. Bashar said that between the years 2026 and 2027, a major contact event will happen. Is it possible that certain individuals or groups who are ready will have contact before this event?
Absolutely. Yes, you don't have to ride the wave of the collective. You can. For most, that will be when contact happens. But if you align with that frequency now, which we will assist you in doing in an upcoming transmission, then you can summon that contact experience early. So yes, that's absolutely possible. You can do this. And we would advise it because that's how you steer the version of Earth that you are on to the version of Earth that you most desire to be on. That's how you do that. So we advise it. Next
question. I heard our social security numbers are connected to a secret trust fund with a lot of money representing our immense value. How do we access and claim this to increase our collective abundance?
By changing your name. What we mean is create a new name for yourself. Your new name will have a new, you could say, spiritual social security number. And if you begin to use that spirit name that you've created, you'll start to receive that immense value, but not from the earth, not from, you could say, your social security services. You'll begin to experience that value from the cosmos. You'll get that value back through magic, through gifts, through blessing, and through abundance that are given to you through the intelligence that makes up existence. So that's what we would advise. Literally create a new name for yourself. Find out what the numerology of that name is. and then begin to use that name as a type of mantra. Meditate upon that name. Feel that name resonate throughout your body as you chant it, become it. And then you'll find all of that value comes right to you in ways you would never believe. Or maybe you would. You'll have to find out.
Next question. I ate magic mushrooms and I was able to channel my higher self. How come that happened?
Because that's the level of consciousness that magic mushrooms can help you access. Now, we'll talk about it like this. These substances are meant to bring you to that level so you can learn to experience that level, so you can cultivate that level on your own. With these things, it's important to reserve their use to ritual or ceremonial purposes or other very powerful personal purposes. These things are not to be taken casually. And what we mean is casually taking them at large doses is fine. But if you are on a path of, you could say, experiencing and integrating higher dimensions on all levels, then eventually the mushroom in large doses will hold you back. Because the mushroom is limited to Earth. There's only so high up the mushroom can go. But you are a human. You are the source manifested on Earth. Therefore, at a certain point, you'll be able to go higher than the mushroom. The mushroom's designed to help you stabilize an understanding of the upper worlds, and then it's up to you to go past that. So with these, you could say, substances, it's important to use them in a positive and respectful way. And we're just saying that because there may be people new to this who don't know how to use them, who haven't used them before and don't have much information. So we're just saying that for those folks who are new to that type of world. The reason that the higher self comes through when you use the mushroom is because the mushroom's geometry is a triangle. Yes, we're holding it up to our third eye. We know that's a curse word in your modern QAnon era, but the mushroom is a triangle. A triangle is a portal. The portal is the all-seeing eye, the eye of Osiris or the eye of Horus. So when you use the mushroom, you're activating that kind of portal, which is your personal third eye, your pineal gland, pituitary gland, thalamus, hypothalamus, all of this gets turned on and activated when you use them. And that center of the brain that has all of those endocrine organs we just mentioned connects right up to your North Star, which connects right into the center of your universe. So it's an instant connection. It's like a way of really specifically dialing your radio so you can get an isolated frequency that is the universe of the psilocybin.
Next question. Are black holes considered types of seeds of creation?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we'll get into this and more. We would describe black holes as both the alpha and omega of creation, expressing in your reality through the idea of the manipulation of space and time. So we'll talk about it like this. It's the physical realities expression of the higher dimensional source consciousness.
Next question. How effective is Campbell as a method of detoxification?
It can be very effective. Yes, yes. So we'll talk about it like this. The color green corresponds with your spring season. Right now, the color green is very active energetically. And whenever spring rolls around, then you say, well, we got to do spring cleaning. Why do you say this? Because not only does green correlate with spring, but in terms of your body, it connects to your liver. So when spring comes around, it's time to detox. It's time to let go and release of all of the things of the previous season, the winter, that no longer serve you. So as the sun rises again in spring, you can rise with it. You can go higher.
Next question. Could you please tell us about the mechanism behind allergies? Is there a connection to ascension symptoms? What's behind, for example, a dust mite or a cat allergy? Emotions, toxins?
It's going to be different for each person, and it's going to be different depending on what the subject of the allergy is. For example, an allergy to dogs will mean something different than an allergy to cats. An allergy to ticks will be different than something like an allergy to mushrooms. They all represent a different symbol, each and every single one of them. But in general, whenever someone finds they're having some type of allergic response to a substance or material or even a person, because that can happen too, what it means is there is something in the individual's energy field that's kind of knotted up. There's a type of blockage, a type of resistance. And then when they're around that thing or that person or that place or that food, that resistance within them gets stimulated, and then it makes the body, you could say, attack itself through an immune reaction. But really, what's happening is it's not that the body's actually allergic to the thing out there. It looks like it is. It's actually an autoimmune phenomenon. The allergic reaction is coming from the body detecting the resonance from within. It knows that the source of the allergy is actually inside. Therefore, it sort of attacks itself and creates the allergic symptom.
Next question. When gold is turned into nanogold, it presents different colors. Is there any change in energy?
Absolutely. It's a higher octave of gold energy. This is a gold energy connected to your new earth and connected to the idea of the concept of the rainbow warriors, a part of your, you could say, American myths. So this type of gold can be used to summon that energy into your life. It's a type of rainbow gold that represents the illuminated Christ consciousness. It represents the many, the different colors are the many, and the sun is the source of them. The many returning to the one, and the one giving birth to the many. That's what that type of material can create psychologically and energetically. Very powerful. We would advise working with it safely, of course. Minerals can be dangerous, so be safe with how you procure or create these materials. But having some of it on you, perhaps in a safe way, could benefit you because it will allow for your aura and your electromagnetic field to resonate with this material. So it will start to become a part of your vortex, as your aura is often called in law of attraction circles.
And the second part of that question says, does it still have the performance of promoting longevity and attracting wealth?
Yes, yes, and more. It's more spiritual in nature, you could say. So less about material things, more about the idea of unity consciousness, but absolutely, it is a very powerful manifestation tool, and you could use it for abundance, success, wealth, and things like that. So that's not off the table. You can still use it in that way.
Next question. How to develop clairaudience and clairvoyance?
Darkness. What we mean is some type of darkness meditation. Earplugs, blindfold, lights off. Find a way to soundproof your room. And just breathe. And start to dissolve yourself into space. Feel that your body's boundary becomes the whole room. And as you breathe, this whole room is breathing. The whole room breathes with you, which is often a commonly reported effect for the magical mushrooms, we might add. That should tell you something about what this exercise is designed to do. So feel the whole room just breathing with you. And look into the darkness, look into the blackness, look into the void while you're doing this. And you may start to see at first a dot of light. Relax, open your heart, smile to that dot of light, and you'll start to notice without any imagination, you're not visualizing, you'll start to physically see color in the darkness, and you'll start to spiral around you. And as you start to see this, hold the awareness of both the light and the darkness. Then what will likely happen is you may start to hear a sound, a high-pitched frequency. Hold the awareness of these three things: the darkness, the color, and the sound. Spend some time doing that. And then finally, the last thing, hold the awareness of the light, the dark, the sound, and finally, the silence underneath all of it. That level, that last level, the silence, That's the black hole that this information comes out of. So when you're able to access meditation upon the level of pure silence, which this exercise will help you to do, you become like a satellite for the secrets of the universe. You're like a lightning rod for it. They just start coming. And then you end up really expanding your understanding and your rate of evolution. So that's what we would advise. Darkness meditation, silence meditation. If you want something more structured, someone else perhaps guiding you through this, a useful alternative, if you're more into the light and into brightness, would be something like a Vipassana meditation retreat. That could also help you, because during those retreats, there's no speaking. So you're sitting, meditating with people, it's structured, there's teachers, and you're silent the whole time, just meditating throughout the day. We know that's intense, but you will get significant results. So play around. There's some options. And you can always do your own version of this. For one day, just don't speak. One day, no talking, just listening. See how your life changes. One day, just your ears. You'll find that, again, the secrets of the universe just come to you. You'll notice all types of patterns and synchronicities.
Next question. Is it possible for human beings to become photosynthetic in nature?
You already are. You already are. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. There is research on this. For example, if you were to eat a salad or took some chlorella, anything with a great deal of chlorophyll in it, in your cells, the chlorophyll reacts with the sunlight, with the photons, to produce enhanced levels of ATP in your mitochondria. You are already photosensitive. You are already photoconductive. Already. It's all a matter of expanding upon that, growing that, building that up. And you can do that. It takes practice. That's what breatharians do. They feed off the sun. You, at a certain point, perhaps could explore with the idea of eating the sun. You don't have to give up food, but see what it's like to just meditate with your eyes closed while the sun radiates upon you. Just for a little bit. You don't want to get a sunburn. So just for maybe 3 minutes when the sun's not too high, and just watch what happens. You'll feel jazzed. You'll feel alive. And even just doing that will produce within the pineal gland and upper centers all types of spiritual activations and effects. If you do something like that on the equinox, eyes closed, sunlight on the face, just for a little bit, you'll find that you're able to really use the sun as a solar portal for wherever you wish to go.
Next question. What can you tell us about spirituality related to African roots?
Sure. Well, the Africans are one of the earliest recipients of the Anunnaki magical system that has built your world cultures. So this current of, you could say, extraterrestrial knowledge and creativity traveled from the Middle East, which you call Iraq, and neighboring countries, and then migrated to Africa, migrated to Asia, India, and finally Europe. Then Europe received this Anunnaki current of energy. So the African people were one of the first to receive it. They got one of the earliest versions of the current, and they also got the updated new version of the current during the peak of the Egyptian civilization. So the African people refined this information in powerful ways. They were very in touch with the earth. In a certain sense, they were very linked to matriarchy and feminine expression and adoration. And they applied these principles that they had received from the Anunnaki to enhance and improve their relationship with the earth. And it actually enabled for them to have a type of, you could say, peak civilization. This is back when there was less, you could say, desert within Egypt and more green. There was a period of time where this was the case long ago. So they would use these Anunnaki technologies, we're playing off the idea of roots here, for agricultural purposes, to grow food, to summon positive energies from the cosmos to bless that food. They were masters of astral projection, spirit travel. They would fly around your planet, visiting different people, visiting different spiritual teachers, so they could collect information about all of the different spiritual traditions that were active at that time in your planet's progress. And they would then incorporate those ideas into their own methods and means of relating spiritually to the world and the cosmos. So Africa plays an incredibly important role, and it shall continue to play one. To this day, it plays an important role, and its role will become increasingly more and more obvious. Be on the lookout for innovations and technologies that come from this country. And we remind you, all of your innovations and technologies come from this country, for all of your technology is mined from this country. So, you are right now holding the power of Africa in your hand. Right now on your screen, you are looking into the power of Africa. This type of material has been on Earth before. And we'll save that for another transmission.
Next question. Is there a Sasani group that we can connect to through a geometric symbol that specifically inspires and facilitates the creation of visual arts? A lot of creative manifestational energy through AI is invested in this direction at this time on Earth, and I would like to add energy to this thrust.
Sure, we would describe it like this: a 7-pointed star with a circle around it and a clockwise spiral emanating from the center that fills the space within that circle. That is the geometry that you can use.
Next question. What happened to Amelia Earhart, the pilot?
This individual experienced a great deal of psychic activations rather quickly through the idea of passing through temporary portals that your clouds and storm systems created, which ultimately shifted her to a parallel reality version of Earth temporarily. And during that shifting, because such an experience was so new, and because human consciousness is and was what it was at that time, it was a little jarring for her. So it created a type of disorientation, and ultimately it was a side effect of portal activity and moving through a portal unexpectedly.
Next question. Why do we separate and categorize ourselves as races, and why do we treat other groups of people differently than others? Explain racism.
Sure. Well, we'll give you some perspective on it. So we'll talk about it like this. When these original Anunnaki teachings were given to your planet was rather unified, and the teachings began to spread. And you had a type of linked culture for a little bit, where you were a global civilization. And then things got sort of out of whack on planet Earth in terms of the idea of polar shifting. Now, we don't necessarily mean your planet's poles shifting. We are talking about the idea of a shift taking place on the level of the galactic axis, the very axis that is related to the rotation of your galaxy. The pole shift happened there, and this emanated a type of wave. Hint, hint, wave, the flood. And this wave spread throughout the Milky Way, making contact with Earth. And this then brought the idea of varying and various natural disasters to your planet. And much of this information was lost. Some of it was retained. And different groups of humans ended up blaming the other groups for the disaster. They said, oh, their method, their way wasn't right. It must have brought about this disaster, this wrath from above. They're responsible. Get them. That's where that comes from. The fear came from an apocalyptic event. That's why it still lingers, because it was a quasi-extinction event. Not everything was wiped out, but a lot was. So that's a type of trauma within your species memory. And you still carry that. And that's why different groups of people will see other groups as threats. We need to stop them. We need to do whatever, because they'll be a threat to our survival. That's the mentality behind racism. And that's where it comes from originally.
Next one. Can you sing us an improvised alien song with alien lyrics?
We can, but not yet. We shall do so, and that is taking place during our upcoming event, the Spring Equinox Initiation, on the channel's Patreon. We shall be performing music, not just us, but also with the attendees, the audience. It will be a type of participatory song sung in our language. When I say our language, I'm not just referring to the Sasani. I am referring to what the Sasani become and our most ancient of ancient ancestors. That's where this language comes from. So as a group, we will sing together. And we invite you to that, which is on your equinox date, the 20th at 1 p.m. And we shall perform with you there.
Next question. What would alert us to knowing if we physically came across someone of the same oversoul?
You would have to understand the symbolic dimensions to their consciousness, because on a face value level, you might not notice too much. They might just look like another person, and maybe you find yourself attracted to them. That's a key. If you find yourself attracted to them, it's likely there's an oversoul link. At a minimum, it's a soul family link. But if there's a soul family link somewhere, there's an oversoul connection. So keep that in mind. You'll find yourself attracted to them in some way, drawn to their energy. And you will find that in terms of your own archetypal expression, they represent an externalization of it. So if you look at the things that you feel make you up, the things that make you a unique individual, if you look at those things, when you see an oversoul member on Earth, they're going to be embodying those same exact things in their own way. But the only way you can know that is if you really talked to them and got in touch with their energy. So sometimes to find those oversoul family members here on Earth, you kind of have to put yourself out there a little bit. Meet people that you're drawn to, attracted to, and see what happens. Get to know them and see if there's a type of link. Now, just because they may be interested into the same themes doesn't mean they're perhaps as developed or as progressed as you in that path of spiritual ascension. Perhaps they may be more advanced than you in that path of spiritual ascension. But either way, it's a teaching and a learning experience between two people. It can be very intense if that type of relationship becomes romantic. It takes incredible, you could say, intelligence and empathy to navigate the relationship, because it's like the two of you are walking into a fire. It's a fire of love that burns away what no longer serves. So the attraction will guide you, and just pay attention to the person, their archetypal energies. You can even use classical tools such as their astrology, their numerology. All of those things can be incorporated. And you might find if you do your own numerology calculations or astrology calculations, you and that person might line up quite nicely. That's another way to find out. Because astrology is not some belief system. Astrology is math. Astrology is measuring how the planets move. And it's talking about the effects that some of the geometries that they create have, which you can measure scientifically, by the way, if you subject materials to those frequencies that resonate with the astrology geometries. You will see that malefic planetary alignments create the idea of discordant frequencies, and beneficent or beneficial planetary alignments create harmonic frequency, and geometries. So keep this in mind. These are all important dimensions to pay attention to.
Awesome. It's 1:53 your time.
All right. Well, we will be regrouping on the Patreon at 2 p.m. We invite you to join us there to continue this ecstatic and delightful conversation. For now, we shall allow for the channel to return to a normal state so he may prepare for this upcoming transmission, which again, we invite you all to. We thank you for joining us here today. This has been so ecstatic, so delightful, and we are so excited to speak to you all again on the 26th at 1 p.m. And we are excited to see you at the spring equinox celebration on the 20th at 1 p.m. Our unconditional love and appreciation to each and every single one of you. Good day. Okay, and we're back.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. That was a lot of fun. Great questions, everybody. I mean, honestly, I couldn't have picked him better myself. That was fun. Well, the first question was about Abraxas. When I heard that, I was like, this is going to be a really good conversation. That's like, I have, yeah, honestly, like, I don't meet many people that even know what that means or what that word is. So hearing somebody on here ask that, it's like, okay, we got a really cool audience. You know, they know what's up.
Yes, and I want to invite everybody. Tyler is going to be sharing with us on Clubhouse. So it's an audio-based app. If you don't have it, you can download it and look for us in the Hybrid Earth Alliance. And we're going to be playing and sharing with Tyler so you can meet him just like, you know, normal human being. He's amazing. Every time I speak to him, it's like a new world unfolds for me. So I'm like, you need to share this with the world. So join us there if you'd like more of Tyler.
Thank you, Yahira. Yes, please come. That's going to be, is that 3:30 today?
3:30. Yeah.
3:30. Okay. Yes, please come at 3:30 and we can all hang out and get to know each other.
Awesome. Beautiful. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for amazing questions. As always, much love to everyone.
All right, everybody, take care. Talk soon. And thank you, Yahira. I'll see you in a few moments.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.